A sick German Shepherd mother and her only surviving puppy were hours away from being euthanized, abandoned by those who should have cared for them. But what happened next changed their fate forever. This is a heartwarming story of courage, compassion, and the unbreakable bond between a mother and her pup. Prepare yourself for a journey that will leave you inspired and remind you of the power of second chances. The shelter was quiet that morning, with only the soft hum of fluorescent lights breaking the silence. Among the rows of kennels, a German Shepherd mother lay curled in the corner of her pen, her thin body trembling as she shielded her tiny pup from the cold concrete floor. Her once glossy coat was now dull and patchy, and her eyes, though tired, were filled with a fierce determination to protect her baby. Her name was Luna. Just weeks earlier, she had been abandoned at the gates of the shelter, left with nothing but her instincts to keep her surviving puppy alive. The shelter staff did what they could, but Luna was severely malnourished and sick with an infection that was quickly spreading. Her puppy, barely old enough to stand, was clinging to life, too weak to even let out a cry. The shelter was overcrowded, underfunded, and facing tough decisions. That morning, a staff member pinned a notice on Luna's kennel: euthanasia scheduled for 8 a.m. tomorrow. Luna couldn't read the sign, but she felt the urgency in the way the staff avoided meeting her gaze. She nuzzled her pup closer, her body shielding him from a world that seemed to have given up on them. Miles away, a young woman named Emma sat in her small apartment scrolling through her phone. Emma, a 28-year-old veterinary assistant with a heart as big as her determination, often spent her free time volunteering at local shelters. She had grown up with German Shepherds and knew their loyalty and courage firsthand. That morning, as she sipped her coffee, a post on social media caught her attention. It was from a local animal rescue group, featuring a photo of Luna and her puppy, with the caption, "Urgent, this mother and her pup are out of time. Can anyone help?" Emma's heart clenched as she stared at the photo. Luna's eyes seemed to pierce through the screen, begging for a chance. Without hesitation, Emma picked up her phone and called the shelter. "Hi, I just saw the post about the German Shepherd and her puppy," she said, her voice shaking slightly. "Are they still there?" The staff member on the other end hesitated. "They're still here, but they're scheduled to be put down tomorrow. The mother's very sick, and the pup isn't doing well either." Emma didn't need to think twice. "I'll take them. Please don't do anything until I get there." By the time Emma arrived at the shelter, the sun was setting, casting a golden glow over the building. She walked in, her heart racing as she approached Luna's kennel. The sight before her took her breath away. Luna lifted her head weakly, her ears perking up at the sound of footsteps. Emma knelt by the gate, her eyes welling with tears as she took in the emaciated mother and her fragile pup. "Hey girl," she said softly. "I'm here to help you." The shelter staff opened the gate, and Emma carefully approached Luna, holding out her hand. Luna sniffed it cautiously before resting her head back down, exhausted but seemingly aware that the stranger was different. Emma gently picked up the puppy, cradling him in her arms. He was so light, so fragile, that it felt like holding a feather. She turned to Luna, stroking her head. "I've got you," she whispered. "You're coming home with me." As Emma loaded Luna and her pup into her car, she couldn't help but feel a mix of hope and fear. She knew the road ahead would be difficult, but she was determined to give them the second chance they deserved. Driving home, Emma glanced in the rearview mirror at Luna, who was lying on a blanket with her pup nestled against her side. "We're going to get through this together," Emma said aloud, more to herself than anyone else. But deep down, she couldn't ignore the question lingering in her mind. Was she already too late? The car ride home was quiet, except for the soft breathing of Luna and her pup in the back seat. Emma stole glances at them through the rearview mirror, her heart breaking every time she saw Luna's frail body curled protectively around her tiny puppy. She knew they didn't have much time. Luna's infection was advanced, and the pup was dangerously underweight. When they arrived at Emma's small apartment, she quickly set up a cozy corner with blankets, water, and food. She gently carried Luna inside, the German Shepherd's body limp, but her eyes alert, scanning the new environment. Her pup let out a faint whimper as Emma placed him beside his mother. "All right, let's get you two checked out," Emma said softly, grabbing her veterinary kit. Though she wasn't a vet, her years of experience as a veterinary assistant gave her the skills to administer basic care. Emma started with Luna, carefully examining her wounds and checking her temperature. The infection was worse than she had anticipated. Luna had a high fever, and the wounds around her abdomen were inflamed. Emma cleaned the wounds as gently as she could, speaking softly to reassure the dog. "You're so brave, Luna," she whispered, stroking her head. "I know this hurts, but you're going to feel better soon." Luna's ears twitched at Emma's voice, and though her body was weak, she leaned into Emma's touch, her tail wagging faintly for the first time. Next, Emma turned her attention to the puppy, who was huddled close to Luna's side. She carefully weighed him on a small scale. He was far below the healthy weight for his age. Emma frowned, noticing his labored breathing and sunken eyes. "You're a fighter too, aren't you?" Emma murmured, wrapping the puppy in a warm towel. She prepared a syringe with a nutrient-rich formula, gently feeding him drop by drop. The pup licked weakly at the formula, his tiny body shivering but determined. Emma worked late into the night, tending to Luna and her pup with the utmost care. She called in a favor from Dr. Alvarez, a vet she often assisted, who agreed to make a house call the next morning to examine them both. By the time Emma finally collapsed onto the couch, exhaustion washed over her. She glanced at Luna and her pup, now resting peacefully in their corner. Luna's head was draped protectively over her puppy, her body curled around him like a shield. "You're incredible. You know that?" Emma said softly, watching them. "You've been through so much, but you're still here, and I'm not giving up on you." The next morning, Dr. Alvarez arrived, a tall man in his late 40s with kind eyes and a calm demeanor. He greeted Emma with a nod before kneeling to examine Luna and her pup. "She's malnourished and severely infected," he said after a thorough examination. "But the good news is that the infection hasn't spread to her organs yet. With antibiotics and proper care, she has a fighting chance." Emma let out a breath she hadn't realized she was holding. "What about the puppy?" she asked, her voice tinged with worry. Dr. Alvarez gently picked up the tiny pup, his expression thoughtful. "He's in critical condition, severely underweight and dehydrated. If you hadn't intervened, he wouldn't have lasted another day." Emma's chest tightened. "What can we do?" Dr. Alvarez handed her a prescription for specialized formula and supplements. "Feed him every 2 hours, keep him warm, and monitor his breathing. He's fragile, but he's a fighter. If anyone can pull through this, it's a German Shepherd." The following days were a whirlwind of around-the-clock care. Emma barely slept, setting alarms to feed the puppy and administer Luna's antibiotics. She spent hours sitting with them, reading aloud to fill the silence and keep them company. Luna seemed to sense that Emma was there to help. Her trust grew with each passing day, and her tail wagged more often when Emma approached. The puppy, though still weak, began to show signs of improvement. His breathing steadied, and his tiny tail even wagged faintly when Emma held him. One evening, as Emma sat on the floor beside Luna, she noticed something remarkable. Luna gently nudged her puppy toward Emma, as if to say, "Thank you for saving him." Emma's eyes filled with tears. "You're welcome, Luna," she whispered, stroking her head. "We're in this together." But as much as Emma's efforts were paying off, she knew the road ahead would be long and uncertain. Luna and her pup had made it through the first critical days, but the battle for their survival was far from over. The sun filtered through the curtains of Emma's small apartment as she sat cross-legged on the floor, her eyes fixed on Luna and her pup. It had been 5 days since she'd brought them home, and while the journey had been exhausting, it was finally starting to feel like progress was being made. Luna's coat, though still patchy, had regained a faint sheen, and her eyes looked brighter with each passing day. Her fever had broken 2 days ago, and the antibiotics were working wonders. She now ate with a steady appetite, finishing her meals and then nudging her bowl as if to ask for more. Emma grinned as she watched Luna lift her head and stretch her neck, her protective instincts still evident as she checked on her pup, who was nestled against her side. The puppy, whom Emma had nicknamed Buddy, was finally gaining weight. His ribs were no longer as visible, and his breathing had steadied. Though he was still tiny and fragile, His tail wagged faintly whenever Emma approached. "Good morning, you two," Emma said softly, placing a fresh bowl of water and food near Luna. She gently scooped Buddy into her hands, his tiny paws twitching as she lifted him. "How's my little fighter today?" Buddy yawned, his small mouth opening wide as Emma chuckled. She prepared a syringe of nutrient-rich formula and carefully fed him drop by drop. Each time Buddy licked at the syringe, her heart swelled with hope. Dr. Alvarez had stopped by the day before and was pleased with their progress. "You've given them a chance," he had said, his tone serious yet encouraging. "But don't let your guard down. The next few weeks will determine if they make a full recovery." Emma had taken his words to heart, dedicating every spare moment to their care. She worked at the vet clinic during the day and spent her evenings and nights tending to Luna and Buddy. Her friends called to check on her, offering to help, but Emma felt this was something she needed to do herself. That afternoon, Emma decided it was time to introduce Luna and Buddy to a bit of fresh air. She set up a small pen in her backyard, laying down soft blankets and ensuring there was plenty of shade. Carrying Luna out first, Emma carefully placed her in the pen. "You deserve some sunshine, girl," she said, smiling as Luna sniffed the air. Buddy came next, tucked safely in Emma's hands. When she placed him beside his mother, he let out a tiny squeak and wriggled his way closer to her warmth. Luna licked him gently, her tail wagging as she settled into the blankets. Emma sat nearby, watching them with a mix of joy and relief. It was the first time in weeks that Luna and Buddy had experienced something beyond the cold walls of a shelter or the confines of her apartment. Luna stretched her legs, her body relaxing as she basked in the sunlight. But the peace was interrupted by a noise from the gate. A car pulling into the driveway. Emma's neighbor, Mrs. Peterson, stepped out, holding a bag of supplies. The elderly woman had been one of the first to offer support after hearing about Luna and Buddy. "I have brought some treats and toys," Mrs. Peterson said with a warm smile. "Thought they could use a little extra spoiling." Emma laughed softly, accepting the bag. "Thank you so much. You didn't have to do this." "Nonsense," Mrs. Peterson replied, peering into the pen. Her eyes softened as she saw Luna and Buddy. "You've given them a new life, Emma. It's the least I can do to help." As the two women chatted, Buddy surprised them both by attempting to stand. His tiny legs wobbled, and he fell back onto the blanket. But he didn't give up. Luna watched intently, her ears twitching as her pup tried again. "Look at him go," Mrs. Peterson said, her voice filled with awe. Emma knelt beside the pen, her heart racing with pride. "You're amazing, Buddy," she whispered, reaching out to steady him. After a few more tries, Buddy managed to stand, his tiny tail wagging triumphantly. Luna let out a soft bark, her way of celebrating her pup's progress. Emma felt tears prick her eyes as she realized how far they had come. "You're going to be just fine," she said, looking between Luna and Buddy. "Both of you." As the sun began to set, Emma carried them back inside, the warmth of the day still lingering. She knew the road ahead was still uncertain, but for the first time, she allowed herself to believe in the possibility of a happy ending. Luna and Buddy weren't just surviving. They were fighting to live, and Emma would be there every step of the way. Luna and Buddy's progress brought a new sense of hope to Emma's life. Each day, they grew stronger, and their personalities began to shine. Luna, once timid and cautious, now wagged her tail eagerly when Emma approached. Buddy, though still small, was full of curiosity, stumbling around Emma's apartment with clumsy determination. One afternoon, Emma decided to try something new. A short walk in the neighborhood. Luna had regained enough strength to stand and walk, albeit slowly, and Buddy had started following her around like a shadow. Emma attached a leash to Luna's collar and placed Buddy in a small sling she had bought for the occasion. "All right, team," Emma said with a grin. "Let's see how you like the world outside these walls." The trio ventured out into the quiet streets, Luna walking at Emma's side with Buddy peeking out of the sling. Neighbors stopped to admire them, some offering kind words and others simply marveling at the transformation. "You're doing something incredible," one man said, leaning down to pet Luna. "She looks so much better than when I first saw her picture online." Emma smiled, pride swelling in her chest. "They're incredible," she replied. "I'm just giving them the chance they deserve." But the walk wasn't without challenges. After just a few blocks, Luna began to slow. her legs trembling slightly. Emma immediately stopped, crouching down beside her. "It's okay, girl," she said softly, stroking Luna's head. "We'll take it easy." Buddy let out a tiny bark from the sling, as if cheering his mother on. Luna glanced at him, her ears twitching, and with a deep breath, she took another step. By the time they returned home, Luna was visibly tired, but her tail wagged faintly as Emma guided her back inside. "You did amazing," Emma said, kneeling to remove Luna's leash. "Both of you." Over the next few days, Emma noticed a shift in Luna's demeanor. The German Shepherd seemed more alert, her eyes brighter, as if the brief taste of freedom had reignited her spirit. She began to interact more with Buddy, encouraging him to play and exploring the apartment with him at her side. One evening, Emma sat on the floor with them, tossing a small ball for Buddy to chase. Luna watched intently, her ears perked. After a few rounds, she surprised Emma by getting up and gently nudging the ball back toward her. Emma laughed, tears welling in her eyes. "You're full of surprises, aren't you?" Luna barked softly, her tail wagging as Buddy pounced on the ball. For the first time, they played together, their bond as mother and pup stronger than ever. But not everything was easy. Emma had received another visit from Dr. Alvarez, who warned her that while Luna's recovery was progressing well, there were still lingering health concerns. "She's doing great," Dr. Alvarez said, sitting at Emma's small kitchen table. "But the infection left her immune system compromised. She'll need regular checkups and a careful diet." "And Buddy?" Emma asked, glancing at the pup, who was gnawing on a chew toy in the corner. "He's thriving," Dr. Alvarez said with a smile. "You saved him, Emma. There's no question about that. But he'll need extra care during these early months to ensure he grows strong." Emma nodded, her resolve hardening. "I'll do whatever it takes. They're family now." As the days turned into weeks, Emma's connection with Luna and Buddy deepened. Luna's protective instincts never wavered, and Buddy grew bolder with each passing day. Emma began taking them on longer walks, and even introduced them to a nearby dog park. One day at the park, as Emma watched Luna and Buddy play, a woman approached her, holding the leash of a large Labrador. "Is that the German Shepherd from the shelter?" the woman asked. Emma nodded, smiling. "This is Luna and her pup, Buddy." The woman knelt, her eyes softening. "I saw their story online. I can't believe how far they've come." Emma crouched beside her, watching as Buddy tried to chase a butterfly, while Luna stood watchful nearby. "They've taught me more about resilience and love than I ever thought possible," she said. The woman smiled. "It's people like you who remind us there's still good in the world." That night, as Emma sat on her porch with Luna lying at her feet, and Buddy curled in her lap, she looked up at the stars. She thought about how close they had come to losing their lives, how the shelter had labeled them as beyond saving. "You proved them all wrong," Emma whispered, stroking Luna's head. "You're both fighters, and I'm so proud of you." Luna nudged Emma's hand with her nose, her amber eyes shining with gratitude. Buddy let out a contented sigh, his tiny tail wagging as he drifted off to sleep. For the first time, Emma allowed herself to believe that their story would have the happy ending they all deserved. As the weeks turned into months, Luna and Buddy became stronger, healthier, and more vibrant. Luna's coat was now glossy and full, her muscles regaining the strength that had once been lost. Buddy, who had once fit in the palm of Emma's hand, had grown into a spirited and curious pup, bounding through the apartment with unbridled energy. Emma couldn't help but smile as she watched Buddy try to wrestle a blanket off the couch while Luna lay nearby, supervising with a mix of patience and amusement. "You're getting so big," Emma said, crouching down to ruffle Buddy's ears. "Pretty soon, you'll be as strong as your mom." Buddy barked, his tail wagging furiously, as if he understood every word. Luna let out a soft woof, her way of joining the conversation. But despite their progress, Emma knew there was still one challenge they had yet to face. Luna and Buddy had spent most of their time in the safety of Emma's home and the small park nearby, but Emma wanted them to experience something more, a chance to be part of the world again. One crisp morning, Emma decided to take them on their first hike. She had found a quiet trail just outside the city, perfect for Luna's slower pace and Buddy's endless curiosity. She packed a bag with water, snacks, and a first aid kit, ensuring they were prepared for anything. As they arrived at the trailhead, Luna's ears perked up, and her nose twitched as she took in the fresh air. Buddy, on the other hand, was practically vibrating with excitement, pulling at his leash as if he couldn't wait to explore. "Easy there, little guy," Emma said with a laugh, adjusting his harness. "We've got plenty of time." The trail wound through a dense forest, sunlight filtering through the trees in golden streams. Emma kept a close eye on Luna, who walked beside her with steady determination. Every so often, she glanced back at Buddy, who was darting from side to side, sniffing everything in sight. "You're both doing great," Emma said, her voice filled with encouragement. "This is what freedom feels like, huh?" About halfway through the hike, they reached a small clearing with a gentle stream running through it. Emma knelt by the water, filling a collapsible bowl for Luna and Buddy. Luna drank deeply, her tail wagging faintly as the cool water refreshed her. Buddy splashed in the shallow water, his paws kicking up tiny sprays that sparkled in the sunlight. Emma sat on a rock, watching them with a deep sense of gratitude. "You're amazing. You know that," she said, her voice soft. "You've come so far, both of you." As they continued the hike, something remarkable happened. A family with 2 young children appeared on the trail ahead, their laughter echoing through the trees. The kids froze when they saw Luna and Buddy, their eyes wide with awe. "Can we pet them?" one of the children asked, looking up at Emma hopefully. Emma hesitated, then nodded. Luna might need a little time to warm up, but Buddy would love it. The kids approached slowly, holding out their hands for Buddy to sniff. He wagged his tail excitedly, licking their fingers as they giggled. Luna watched from a distance, her ears twitching as she observed the interaction. To Emma's surprise, Luna eventually stepped forward, her movements cautious but calm. One of the kids reached out, gently stroking her head. Luna closed her eyes, leaning into the touch. "She's so soft," the child whispered, beaming up at Emma. Emma felt her throat tighten as she watched Luna and Buddy bring joy to these strangers. It was a testament to their resilience, their ability to trust again, despite everything they had been through. By the time they returned to the car, all 3 of them were tired but content. Emma loaded them into the back seat, glancing at their peaceful faces. "You did amazing today," she said, her voice filled with pride. That evening, as they lay together on the couch, Emma reflected on how much had changed. Luna and Buddy weren't just surviving, they were thriving. They had gone from being forgotten and abandoned to experiencing a life filled with love, adventure, and hope. "You've shown me what it means to never give up," Emma whispered, stroking Luna's fur. "No matter what happens, I'll always fight for you, just like you fought for each other." Luna rested her head on Emma's lap, her eyes shining with gratitude. Buddy curled up beside them, his tiny snores filling the room. In that moment, Emma realized that their story wasn't just about survival. It was about the strength of love and the power of second chances. Luna and Buddy had become local celebrities. Emma had shared their journey on social media, posting updates on their recovery, milestones, and adventures. People from all over the community followed their story, inspired by their resilience and the love that had given them a second chance. One morning, Emma received an invitation from the local shelter, the very place Luna and Buddy had been rescued from. They wanted her to bring them to an adoption event as special guests, to show people the incredible transformations that could happen when animals were given a chance. Emma hesitated. Luna had come so far, but large crowds could be overwhelming, and she didn't want to push her too hard. She glanced at Buddy, now a boisterous pup full of energy, chewing on a toy in the corner. "What do you think, Luna?" she asked, stroking the German Shepherd's fur. "Do you think you're ready?" Luna looked up at Emma, her amber eyes steady and calm. Her tail wagged faintly, as if to say, "I trust you." The day of the event arrived, and Emma prepared Luna and Buddy for their big outing. She brushed Luna's coat until it gleamed, and adjusted Buddy's new collar, a bright blue one with his name engraved on it, as they walked into the shelter's outdoor event space. The crowd erupted into applause. Luna froze for a moment, her ears twitching, but Emma knelt beside her, whispering, "It's okay, girl. I'm right here." Buddy, on the other hand, was thrilled. He bounded ahead on his leash, wagging his tail furiously as people reached out to pet him. Luna, seeing her pup's excitement, seemed to relax. She stood tall beside Emma, her head held high. The shelter staff greeted them warmly, setting up a small area with photos and a sign that read, "Meet Luna and Buddy, proof of the power of second chances." Throughout the day, families came by to meet them, asking Emma about their story. She shared how Luna had been on the brink of death, how Buddy had been so weak he could barely lift his head, and how both had fought their way back with love and determination. "They taught me more than I ever thought possible," Emma said, her voice thick with emotion. "They showed me what it means to never give up." One family in particular caught Emma's attention. A young couple with 2 children who had recently lost their own dog. The kids knelt beside Buddy, giggling as he licked their faces, while Luna watched protectively. "She's so gentle," the mother said, stroking Luna's head. "You can tell how much she loves her pup, and how much she trusts you." Emma smiled, her heart swelling with pride. "She's an incredible mother. And Buddy? He's going to grow up to be just as brave as she is." As the event wound down, the shelter director approached Emma. "Thank you for bringing them," she said. "Seeing Luna and Buddy here today, it's a reminder of why we do this work. They've inspired so many people." That evening, as Emma drove home with Luna and Buddy, she reflected on how much had changed since that fateful day at the shelter. Luna and Buddy had gone from being abandoned and overlooked to becoming symbols of hope. Back at home, Emma settled onto the couch with Luna lying beside her, and Buddy curled up at her feet. The room was quiet, except for the soft hum of the heater and Buddy's tiny snores. "You've come so far," Emma whispered, her hand resting on Luna's head. "I'm so proud of you both." Luna let out a contented sigh, leaning into Emma's touch. Buddy stretched out, his little paws twitching in his sleep. In that moment, Emma realized something profound. Luna and Buddy hadn't just changed their own lives. They had changed hers too. They had taught her the true meaning of resilience, the importance of compassion, and the power of second chances. As the stars twinkled outside the window, Emma made a promise to herself and to them. "No matter what happens, we'll always have each other. You're my family now." Luna's tail thumped softly against the couch, her way of saying, "We know." Months had passed since the adoption event, and Luna and Buddy were thriving in ways Emma had only dreamed of. Luna, now fully recovered, had regained her strength and confidence. Her sleek coat shimmered in the sunlight, and her proud posture reflected the resilience she had shown throughout her journey. Buddy had grown into a spirited young dog, full of energy and mischief, but always attentive to his mother and Emma. Emma's small apartment had become a lively, joyful home. The bond between the three of them was unbreakable. Every morning, they went for long walks in the park, where Luna and Buddy played and chased each other, their laughter like barks echoing through the trees. Emma often found herself pausing during these moments, overwhelmed with gratitude for how far they had all come. One crisp morning, Emma received a call from Dr. Alvarez. "Emma, I've been invited to speak at a national veterinary conference, and I'd like to share Luna and Buddy's story," he said. "Their journey is a perfect example of resilience and the power of compassion." Emma smiled, looking at Luna and Buddy, who were playfully tugging on opposite ends of a rope toy. "They'd love that," she replied. "And so would I." A few weeks later, Emma and the dogs traveled with Dr. Alvarez to the conference. The stage was set with photos documenting Luna and Buddy's transformation, from the frail, sickly pair in the shelter to the healthy, vibrant family they had become. The audience, a mix of veterinarians, shelter workers, and animal advocates, listened intently as Dr. Alvarez and Emma recounted the story. Emma stood at the podium, her voice steady but filled with emotion. "When I saw Luna and Buddy's photo that day, I couldn't look away. I knew they deserved the chance, no matter how hard the road ahead might be. What I didn't know was how much they would change my life in return. They taught me about love, loyalty, and what it truly means to never give up." As she spoke, Luna sat calmly at her side, her head held high. Buddy, ever the curious pup, wagged his tail enthusiastically, drawing soft laughter from the audience. When Emma finished, the room erupted into applause. After the presentation, attendees approached to thank Emma and meet Luna and Buddy. Many shared their own stories of rescuing animals or finding inspiration in the courage of dogs like Luna. They've touched so many lives, Dr. Alvarez said as they packed up to leave. You've given them more than a second chance, Emma. You've given them a purpose. Back home, life settled into a beautiful routine. Emma decided to use her platform to advocate for animals in need, sharing stories of other shelter dogs and encouraging people to adopt and support their local shelters. Luna and Buddy became unofficial ambassadors for the cause, their story reaching thousands of people through social media and community events. One evening, as Emma sat on her porch with Luna lying at her feet and Buddy sprawled across her lap, she reflected on their journey. The stars twinkled above, and the air was filled with the soothing sounds of crickets and rustling leaves. "You know," Emma said softly, stroking Luna's fur, "I thought I was saving you, but the truth is, you saved me too." Luna nudged Emma's hand with her nose, her amber eyes filled with understanding. Buddy let out a contented sigh, his little paws twitching in his sleep. Emma smiled, feeling a profound sense of peace. Luna and Buddy weren't just survivors. They were a testament to the power of love, compassion, and second chances. Together, they had created a new story, one filled with hope and joy. As the night deepened, Emma whispered, "No matter what happens, we'll always have each other. That's what family is." Luna's tail thumped softly against the porch, and Buddy snuggled closer, as if to say, "We know." Luna and Buddy's journey proves that love, resilience, and second chances can change everything. If this story inspired you, subscribe to the channel, like the video, and share it with someone who loves heartwarming stories like this one. Let's keep spreading hope and compassion for animals everywhere. Thank you for watching.